they can also send us something anonymously by going to the website, and it says be anonymous. And that way we don't see your Instagram profile, and it just comes to an email inbox that says anonymous, and we don't see your email, we don't see your name. And so you could be my best friend writing, a question, and I don't know it's you. And so I think that gives another level of, I don't know, just feeling like you can be completely vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we got another great episode for you today. I have Alexis Barad-Cutler here from the Not Safe for Mom group, and we talk all about middle motherhood, how there's so much support and groups for new moms, pregnant moms. But what happens when your kids get to the elementary, middle school stage? So she talks about the new joys and new challenges that come along with middle motherhood and shares some advice for moms that are about to reach that stage as well. And then she talks about our Not Safe for Mom group, which is a group that she specifically created to allow moms to connect on different levels and to not feel ashamed about asking certain questions, and it's all anonymous. It's an amazing platform that she's created for all moms to feel heard in their questions, concerns, and so much more. So it's an awesome episode. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. And of course, stick around at the very end for our Mom Tales of the Week. These are questions that we ask on our Facebook, Instagram, and our Facebook group to get your take on motherhood and share your side of the story. So we have a lot of fun reading these. So that's at the very end. So without further ado, here's my interview with Alexis Barad-Cutler. So before we get started, can you just tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I am a mom of two, and I live in Brooklyn. Been here for long enough that I can say I am a Brooklynite. And I'm a writer by trade, and I came up through children's publishing. So that was like my former life. And I moved over into writing for a lot of parenting blogs. And then I realized my niche was writing about the stuff that you can't say in mom group. And I can go into the longer story later, but now I'm the founder of Not Safe for Mom Group, which is a community and platform where moms or anyone who identifies as a mom can come and talk about the things that you really can't say out loud or at drop off or even to some of your closest mom friends. And we host conversations anonymously on folks' behalf.
I love that. We talk a lot here about like community and the importance of community. So I love that there's kind of like an unfiltered like area where they can go and just ask whatever questions on their mind or just discuss a topic that maybe they couldn't discuss with, a mom at school or, wherever they kind of come across different moms.
Yeah, and I think I think you first want to put the feeler out and see, like, if I ask this question in my mom group, or if I ask this question, like with my circle of friends, what's the reaction going to be? So you can kind of test the waters with this community because no one knows who you are. You send us a DM and you're like, so I just found out something about my partner that is really shocking. And I just don't know what my next step should be, or like, is this really bad? Is this a reason to leave? You wouldn't want to go to like the people in your close friend community with that, because then they might look at your partner differently, and that can affect both of you. It's not just about you, it can affect your whole family. So it's wonderful to have this group of internet strangers who have no bias, no history of you, and they could just take these facts, which are in a vacuum, of course, and you're not going to say, well, my internet friends told me to do this, but like it gives you some basis from which to start a conversation. And there's something there.
Definitely. Yeah, I think you bring up a good point with there's some questions where you just don't want to go to like your family right away or your close group of friends that like know everything about you, or, they see you in a more social setting because they're going to have those biases then later, or to answer your question, they're going to have some biases. So that's a really amazing community to have.
And like you could have either wonderful Facebook groups that exist too for some of these more difficult questions that, again, your profile is attached and your face is there. And, you might have shared something that you didn't want someone who remembers you from college, who's also on that Facebook group, to see. So I think the anonymity is really the draw and what makes it different.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed they've now allowed like anonymous questioning in Facebook groups, but it's weird. I've noticed because we have a Facebook group here, but I've noticed some moms message me like, I don't have that option. So it's a weird thing where I think only some accounts are getting it. If you have Facebook for a certain amount of time, or I'm not sure what the qualification is. So it's kind of funky.
Yeah. It's also about knowing who's in your community. And the community that we have is a very like-minded community in the sense that they're very open-minded.
Mhm.
Um, and so the folks who come here are people who are looking for a different perspective, like they're open to you having a different lifestyle than them, and they want to hear about it because they want to learn about it. They're not going to judge you. It's a really stigma-free environment. They're usually like cool people who read, people who are up on the news, engaging folks, and who are sensitive and most importantly, really empathetic. So I think that's the other reason people tend to gravitate towards this group and sharing the most intimate details of their lives.
Yeah, there's a definitely like a trust that I think people can find with it. So I guess there's like a lot of questions with in regards to this not safe for mom group. So moms that are listening, if they're like, oh, this sounds like a community I want to like get involved in, or I have a lot of questions I want to ask. How can they find your community and like be a part of it? What are the different angles? I know you have an Instagram page, but what other kind of parts do you have to it?
So the most popular place to reach us and to have a conversation based on your question is on Instagram, and to send us a DM and say, "Hey mom group," and then your question, and then, if it's a very current topic or something that we know has been in the ether for a while, it'll probably get posted immediately. Or if it has to do with a current event, much like pitching to a magazine, if it's very topical, like it goes to the top of the line. And we also, we have like thousands of queries in a roster, and there's a publishing plan for them. But if we know that it's something urgent that a mom needs help with right now, it goes to the top of the line. But that's how people reach us the through DMs. And if they respond to a story that's existing, that's another way to reach us. They can also send us something anonymously by going to the website, and it says be anonymous. And that way we don't see your Instagram profile, and it just comes to an email inbox that
Mhm.
says anonymous, and we don't see your email, we don't see your name. And so you could be my best friend writing, a question, and I don't know it's you. And so I think that gives another level of, I don't know, just feeling like you can be completely vulnerable.
Mhm.
So then the other touch points are, we have one-on-one mentorships with me. So if you had a problem that you just like, you didn't want to take it to a psychologist, you didn't have a therapist, and you don't want to go through that whole like cycle of looking for somebody, and you just wanted someone to talk to sort through it, get some clarity, and then some very great follow-up steps or next steps. That's me. I like think of myself as kind of a motherhood whisperer,
Mhm.
because I hear the stories of hundreds of mothers every day. That's another way that people can reach us. And then we host talking circles, which are these intimate, mainly at most 7 people, and they meet for 6 weeks, and we go through very deep dive of exploring your motherhood identity and retelling, what we were like before mothers, how we are now, and kind of doing the exorcism of our feelings
Mhm.
ever since we became a mother. And it's really beautiful because people form real friendships that last beyond just the circle.
I love that. It's amazing because I mean, I hear a lot of times the moms in our Facebook group just talk about how lonely they are or how they don't, especially during COVID, being like locked down, like in a lockdown or not having family nearby. It's hard. And so that's an amazing platform that you have to connect moms or create that kind of like one-on-one space where they can be vulnerable and share kind of what they're feeling and what's going on. Because I think that's so powerful to be able to share.
It's really, really fulfilling work. I'm really lucky.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know you kind of talk about like why you started it and, with the goal with helping everyone. So what was that like moment where you decided to like create this platform? Because I know you said you had, different backgrounds of writing. And I think you said you were a teacher too at one point.
No, I was an editor I was a children's book editor.
Oh, children's book
Um,
editor. Yeah.
yeah, so I worked at Random House and HarperCollins and a couple other places, and I was a children's book writer as well.
Mhm.
So I was really in touch with it was adjacent to motherhood, but I was writing for parents as they were my audience, but I wasn't a parent myself, you know. And once I became a mother, I couldn't stop thinking about writing about that experience. So I couldn't write children's books anymore. I just wanted to write for mothers. And I couldn't write about how great it was. I was having a very different experience from those of my friends. And at the time, there weren't really that many websites around for mothers. There were some great blogs of people telling like what was really happening, but there was basically, I think it was just like there was the knot and maybe the bump and what to expect.
Mhm.
It wasn't a market. People weren't marketing to pregnant women and new moms at the time because this was 10 years ago,
Mhm.
over 10 years ago now. And so I felt like I was a leper. Like, why am I the only one that's not liking this? But I wrote about it. And then the more I wrote about it and I published the pieces, people would reach out to me and say, like, you're describing exactly how I feel, but I feel like I can't say it anywhere.
Mhm.
And so I started developing Not Safe for Mom group, but didn't announce it to anybody because I just didn't know how it would land. And if people would be like, how could you say this about motherhood? Like feeling like sometimes I just want to leave, you
Mhm.
know. Sometimes this is not what I feel like I made a giant mistake. I had depression, I had postpartum depression and anxiety and a little bit of psychosis. And I'm glad that now I can come from a place of time away from it and healing to really do the work. But they were thoughts that I know people had. And one piece that I wrote in particular was published and then it was taken down a couple days later. And the reason that they gave me was that it was too controversial. And the feedback they were getting from the mothers reading it was they were offended. They felt it was too, they didn't like it. They were arguing about why would you publish this? And this website was a very progressive website, but they just took it down. And I was so disappointed because I felt like what an opportunity for conversation. I would have loved to hear what they had to say.
Mhm.
And I think that that's how we grow. And I think that mothers are you can be offended and then we can have a conversation and you can hear what I think and I can hear what you think and we're not flowers that are fragile and you just pick us apart.
Mhm.
Oh no, I can't read this controversial thing. Like, come on, give us a little more credit. We just pushed a freaking baby out of our tiny hole. Like it's oh God. So I got really mad and I noticed that everything I saw on Instagram was making me even more angry because it wasn't reflecting back at me the experience that I was having. And it made that made me feel even more ashamed of myself.
Mhm.
So I was like, well, maybe I'll just create a space that does reflect what I'm going through because I feel like that can't possibly just be me. So then I launched it and sent it to a couple friends and let it be known in the universe and asked people to share their stories with me. And I would post them on their behalf. And then it really grew from there.
Wow. That's amazing. I always say like in our group, like when people get offended or upset, I'm like kind of like look inward and kind of ask yourself, why are you getting like, like have that conversation. Like you were just saying, like it's okay. Like if you feel like a certain way, but like let's like talk about it. Maybe it's hitting a chord because you had felt that way, or maybe it's hitting a chord because you were told not to act a certain way. So I think that's amazing. Like you said, I think we all need to be real with how we're feeling, and it allows us to connect and understand each other and what we're kind of going through.
Exactly what you're saying. I was just having a discussion with a relative of mine about something I made and they were listening to it and they just got really upset about one part of the story. And I didn't understand why they were so mad about it. They were correcting like the way I was displaying, portraying someone in the story. And I didn't get where this was coming from. And it took us a couple days of talking about it. And finally, they were like, I am like that person in the story. This is what I'm going through. I actually have been attending meetings, and it blew my mind that I didn't even think about they're relating to this person in the story. And that's what's gotten them so upset. And
Mhm.
then I had so much more empathy for the person in the story, who I guess we kind of vilified a bit. And also, and then of course, for my relative, there's always a layer underneath that, the anger, the trigger, and there's a humanness. And I think that our initial reaction doesn't allow us to do that next step, which is to feel something hard, something difficult, and then feel something kind of good and connect with somebody.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I think our first instinct is to, yeah, be offended or defensive, and because you're seeing yourself in something and be like, well, that's not fully the full picture, or that's not, how I see myself. But then usually, like, you kind of can feel that resistance because there's some kind of connection there. But
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's powerful. So that's awesome. I think everyone should definitely check out your group, or, check out Instagram and submit questions, because I think a lot of times we, especially as women, I think we like bottle things up. I mean, I know men do too. Everyone does, but
Hmm.
from time to time. But I think it's really helpful to ask those questions that are on our mind, and be a little more vulnerable with how we're feeling.
It's also a good place to just scream in the wind. Like if you're up at 2 in the morning dealing with a kid who just had a nightmare, now you can't fall asleep, and all these thoughts are racing through your mind, and there's no one to hear them. It's a good place to just write to us. And that thought could also be an amazing feed post that's going to resonate with thousands of women who are also having that anxious thought,
Hmm.
and then they'll feel like, I was just like, I needed this today. Thank you. Like, I was just thinking the exact same thing last night. We're connected in so many ways that we don't know. And since we don't have a village, like a real village, and since we're still being forced to be so separate from one another physically, for now, we have this digital village and stories to share with one another, and I think that can be very powerful too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know today we also wanted to talk a little bit about middle motherhood.
Oh
And
yeah.
so for those listening, what is middle motherhood?
Well, everyone loves to talk about like pregnancy and postpartum, and those are both very, very interesting, volatile, transformative times. But then you get past that portion, even preschool, toddlerhood, preschool, and then you have elementary age kids, elementary school age kids, and middle school kids. And it's kind of like no one talks about you anymore. No one's targeting you anymore in an ad or trying to come up from your point of view. And we really want mothers to see themselves in what we do. And there's no books for you anymore. No one's writing from your point of view. There's like nothing. You're just in this abyss, this empty place. You're just someone, and no one cares what you think. And there's no group for you, and there's no support system for you. But oh my God, it is a fucking hard time to be a mom. And it's really lonely. And your kids are going through things that are now unpostable. You can't post about some of the stuff they're going through on Facebook because it's super embarrassing for
Mhm.
them. And sometimes, like, your partner isn't really into having family business posted about. These are the ages where children's identities are really coming forward. They're
Mhm.
discovering their gender identities even more. Their learning styles are becoming more apparent. Third grade, second, third grade, you discover children have more reading disabilities or are maybe on the spectrum, can't have more learning disabilities. And And people are ashamed of so many of these things and won't talk about them. And, I have one of each. So I have a kid who's non-binary, and I have a kid with learning disabilities. And then, no one talks about either of those topics unless I bring them up first. And if I'm talking about an IEP or, some sort of a support class that my older son has, that's when 5 parents in the vicinity will be like, wait, he has an IEP? Mine does too. Your kid has wait, where did they get speech therapy? What did they do OT? And they're like, I haven't told anybody this because I just don't really know who to talk to. And so there's this whole new world of stuff it would be the equivalent of no one ever talking about how to swaddle, or like, what pediatrician do you go to?
Right.
Like common things that children deal with, but just silenced in this middleness. And I'm sure this applies to high school times 10,000, but this like elementary, middle school phase is just like, everything's great. We love the teacher, or the teacher's a dud, but like about your own kid, no one's talking about it. And it is, the older the kid, the bigger the problems. And middle motherhood is less about the physicality of motherhood. When you're a young mother, or when your children are young, and there's so much of the pushing, carrying, changing, holding, all of that. And this is, you have body autonomy. No one's really touching you, but the emotional and mental load that you're carrying is enough to just weigh you down. No one needs to touch you to make you move, because there's just so much on your mind. And yeah, that's how I would describe it.
No, I mean, you bring up such good points, because it's like there is so much, I mean, especially now, like I feel like my parents' generation, there wasn't, even like the postpartum talk or 4th trimester talk. But even now, like, yeah, you don't really see the support. You kind of think like, oh, once a mom's kids are in school, like she's got this, like they're good. And there's not really like a support out there. They kind of just assume, oh, they got past the baby stage, so their kids are, good. But every stage brings on new challenges and new learning opportunities, essentially.
And also new joys, like really wonderful joys. And that's another thing I really want mothers to know, is that I hear a lot of pining for the early days, or guilt about having missed something from, oh, I feel like I wasn't present enough when they were a baby, and I feel so guilty about not being there. And I feel sad for myself about what I missed. And now they're getting older, and all that time is gone, and I'll never get it back, period. But then what I want to say is, yes, that might be true, but you have no idea how much wonderful stuff is waiting for you on the other side of 3, because a 7-year-old is so much fun. Like they tell you stuff. They're like little gossipers. They're gonna tell you all about what's happening at school. You have like a buddy to hang out with who's going to play stuff maybe you want to actually play, and it's just, and then when you get to 10, then you're like, we're going to talk about the news. You care about politics. Like you are now at an age where you have a deeper sense of emotional relation. It's watching a creature turn into more of a human that you want to hang out with. And it's so much fun. Like you go from having a fun doll to play with to having a person that you can't wait to go out to dinner with. And I think we need to stress more about all the great stuff that's ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of like the equivalent too of like, if we're dwelling on the past versus being present and enjoying what's kind of in front of us. And yeah, I think that's a cool way to put it, where it's like now you can, see them become this their own person and, have their own way of doing things and, having a conversation with them. And so for moms that are kind of in this stage or about to be in this stage, I think there's a lot of fear when it comes to entering any new stage, whether it's in parenthood and life in general. So for moms that are, kids are about to be in elementary school or middle school age, what advice do you have for them?
I think just to be curious and very open, because your child is revealing themselves to you. People say, oh, well, I'm really looking for an academic environment for my preschooler. I want it to be competitive. I want them to be a high achiever, blah, blah, blah. And, the kids there, they're picking their nose. You're like, oh, yes, obviously they need very high achieving. But like, the thing is, you don't know yet who your kid is, because maybe a highly competitive and academic environment may not be where they thrive. So they haven't fully revealed who they are yet. So just be open and curious to the little person that's just still blossoming, and try to just take away like your version of who you want them to be and let them be who they are going to be, because they will tell you, like they really will tell you who they are. And I think that takes some pressure off, because when you really think about it, you're trying to do the thing that looks right when other people are looking at it on a screen, or hearing about it when you're telling them. But are you really doing it for the kid, or are you doing it for how it like appears or looks? Also, don't plan in advance. Like I had friends who were like, with the preschool thing, they made charts like a year in advance. And they're like, I have to do this by this date, I do this by this date. I waited till the friends had done all the charts and I said, give me the charts. And I just was like, I'm not going to get hung up on all of that. It's bad energy, bad juju. I just was like, I guess go to one of these schools. and then we went to school, and it was challenging no matter what. And then I figured out what kind of kid and learner my kid was, and now we know what they need, and they're headed to middle school, which is its own thing. Yeah. And also to go a little bit further back, for like the new moms, the reason that there are so many parenting books and so many hypotheses of how to parent and different styles is because there is no one way, which is why like there's no book on how to be a good, like a perfect human or a successful there's 5,000 books, because there's no one way, because we're all different. Like if there was a book about sleep, it wouldn't work for you and me, because we sleep differently, because we're all different people. So why would that book work for your kid and my kid and that kid and that kid? Like we all have different sleep schedules in our bodies. So I just feel like be open and be curious is my put down the books.
That's a great point, because I feel like this funny thing happens. It's like you make a great point. There's no like one book that's like everyone can read, like how to be the most perfect human. But then something happens when you're like a new mom, and like, especially in like some of the Facebook groups where they get so vicious, it's like, nope, everyone needs to do this. And it's like, not every mom's the same. Not every kid's the same. You can't plan for everything. And so I think that was an awesome point that you just made about, there's each area is going to be completely different. You can take what you want from the internet or from friends, and then leave what doesn't apply to your family.
But I understand the impulse, because it helps us feel like we're in control in some way. I mean, I did it. I just wish I could go back in time and listen to my grandma when she was like, put down the book, pick up the baby. And that I'll never forget that. And I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. You parented like 100 years ago. But she was so right.
Love that. So I always like to end these with fun thinking questions, I call them. And so if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
Put down the book, pick up the baby.
Love it. I like tied right in. I love it. That goes with all I was just saying this to someone last week, like with Facebook groups, like you kind of have to have a basis of what works with your family and what you believe in before going in. Because when you go in, if you don't stand for something or understand kind of what works, you're going to like get so overwhelmed and go like, wait, this person says this person says this, and just be completely like, well, what do I do? And kind
you
of
fall for everything.
Exactly. Of course, I know we kind of mentioned it before, but where can everyone follow you or find the Not Safe for Mom group and all that good stuff, everything you have?
So we are at Not Safe for Mom group on Instagram. That's really where so much of the conversation and content is found. You can find more on www.notsafeformomgroup.com, and that's where you can find information about our mentor sessions, our talking circles, and our blog, which has a lot of great content to just read in all of your spare time. There's lots more information there. And then we have something really big coming in the new year, and I think it'll be launched by the time you listen to this. It'll actually be the Not Safe for Mom group podcast, which is available on all the different channels, Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, those guys.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely have to send me those links and we'll put it all in the show notes so everyone can check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming, Alexis. It was so nice talking with you. And this is a topic we really haven't discussed. And I thought you brought an awesome perspective to everything. So
thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, it's time for our Mom Tales of the Week. Oh, and this is a juicy one. I'm gonna read all these anonymous because there's a lot of things and people mentioned, so I'm gonna protect them a little bit here today. This is tell us about something that made you mad this week. So here we go. It's gonna be good. And a reminder, if you have something that you're mad about, it's okay to vent. It's okay to tell someone, write it out, just really feel those feelings. Because a lot of times we like to hold stuff in and that's what causes us to explode at one point or another. So it's okay to be mad or upset or annoyed by something. Just vent it out. That's what we always talk about in our group. We always allow for the moms to be able to share something that went on that maybe didn't go how they planned or expected or made them mad, and it's okay. It's okay. Okay, first one here. The fact that my husband only ordered me half of a small cheese pizza when I asked for a large cheese pizza to myself. I'm super preggo right now and my stomach can't fit much food in it at a time. So he knew I would puke if I ate too much, but I still cried. Oh, I get that though. When you are craving something and you want something, you're like, don't discount me. I want to eat the whole thing, even if you don't. I mean, it's always good to have leftovers. I mean, I don't know. That's my thing anyways. Number 2, my boss. While I was working and pumping at the same time, and she comes in and asks me, how much longer do you need to do that? Oh, no. While knowing I didn't have to do work while pumping at my desk and rushing me to work up more patients. They can wait 5 more minutes, especially since I was already on the phone helping one through a problem. Postpartum anger is like no anger I've ever felt. Oh my gosh, we just talked about pumping and your rights on our Instagram. We did a video about it. We did an interview about it. Oh, I feel for you. You know, next time you just gotta, I don't know, lock the door. That is just, oh, I guess you're not in another room. You know, that's hard because a lot of people say they're tolerable, but then they'll make comments like that. So just don't let it get to you. I know it's really frustrating, but it's your right to pump at work. So just remember that you're not doing anything wrong and you don't need to hurry up for other people. All right, number 3. Besides everything, in parentheses, she says 20 weeks pregnant, my brother was snapping a shirt, twisting it up like a wet towel, too close to my 18-month-old boy after I repeatedly told him not to. I was ready to throw hands. Hey, I get that. When you just are in that space where you're like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. it becomes too much. So hopefully nothing happened with that and he learned his lesson. Number 4, my husband went out and got dinner for him and his daughter and didn't even think to ask if I would like anything. Then wanted to say I was irrational for being upset. Oh, come on. You always ask if your wife or girlfriend, partner wants something. You just do. Even if she has a full platter of food in front of her, you gotta ask. You gotta ask. And 75% of the time she'll probably say no, but then she'll want to eat some of your food. I don't know this from any personal experience at all, by the way. So just a reminder to all the people out there listening, always ask. All right, number 5. My husband told me to go out for a girls' night and that he had everything under control. He was going to feed our 11-month-old dinner and give him a bath and get him to bed. I come home to him still in his crib from his nap. I put him down at 5 p.m., no dinner, no bath. My husband just let him sleep all evening. So I get home, he wakes up immediately and stays up till 3 a.m. bouncing around all awake. I'm so tired and so mad. Oh my gosh, I would be livid. How does that even happen? Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully you can communicate with your husband that that's not cool. And yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Number 6, this is the week before my period, so everything either makes me mad or makes me cry. I have clothes on the line drying outside. We're in Florida. And it started to sprinkle. I am livid. LOL. Hey, at least you can laugh at yourself. I mean, I've had those moments where something makes me so mad or the same makes me so upset, but I know I'm being ridiculous. And I'm like, I need a minute. I'm going to step away. I know this is crazy. I know I'm shouldn't be mad about this, but give me a minute. I'll be back in 5 minutes. It'll be like nothing ever happened. I get you. I get you. Okay. Number 7. I was breastfeeding in my car while parked, obviously. And this man came up to the window. Wait, hold the phone. This man came up to the window, opened the door to tell me my car lights were bothering him. I need a full-on pause on that one. I need to read that again. Okay, I was breastfeeding in my car while parked outside. A man came up to the window and opened the door to tell me my car lights were bothering him. I literally almost called the cops on him. I was so livid. You don't open the door to someone else's car. I feel like even going up and knocking on the window would be kind of rude, but that's at least 10 steps back. That's a little more polite, or going up and waving if you have something to say. But going up and opening the car door first would completely startle me. That's scary. I've had times where I've been in my car and I think someone's gonna walk up to my car and I lock it because I'm I just don't want someone to come in my car. And I've accidentally gone up to a car, opened it thinking it was mine, and been oh crap, that is not my car. But this was obviously very intentional. This is someone that had something to say and thought it was their right to open the car door. I mean, that's like having something to say and opening up someone's front door and walking in their house. No, that's not cool. Not cool. Well, I'm sorry that happened. That's very scary. Number 8. My fiance broke the baby swing because he insisted on putting it together without looking at the instructions and got mad at me because I was upset. Oh my gosh. I've heard similar things happening before because it's that I can do it attitude. I don't need any instructions to tell me how to do it. It'll be fine. I'll figure it out. And look where we're at now. Might as well have just looked at the instructions. I'm sorry that happened. I need to do twice the work. And he was probably embarrassed. That's probably why he got upset with you. He's embarrassed, darn it, I couldn't have even followed instructions correctly, and now I look like the idiot. So, yeah, he should not make you feel bad for that. Number 9, my son is quarantined from daycare for the 4th time, 10 days each time. We still have to pay the full fee, and he even tested negative, and he still can't go back. Wait, what? Okay, I I don't know how this is okay. Like, I mean, I'm not sure what most daycares are doing. Like, if your kid has to quarantine out, if you don't have to pay, if you do have to pay. But I think it's insane that they still have to pay the full fee, especially if this is his 4th time being out and testing negative. You can't go back. So I'm really confused. I'll say concerned. I'm not concerned. Well, maybe a little concerned. I'm more confused why he can't go back if he's negative. I'm sorry. That's really stressful. Man, and hopefully those 4 times were very spread out, but I'm guessing if it's this upsetting, it's probably not been super spread out either. That's just annoying. Okay, number 10, my boyfriend. Emphasis on the boyfriend. It said that, not me. Asked me this morning while I was nursing the baby why I don't get his clothes ready for work in the mornings, like other wives do. What? I can't even finish reading this. My jaw is dropped. Okay, I'm going to first comment and then I'll keep reading. I've never met one person that lays their husband's work clothes out for them. If they do, they haven't told me, and maybe there's a reason. He is a very capable adult of putting his own clothes out, especially if you have a little baby and you're taking care of your baby, like other wives do. He might be watching a movie from the 1950s and it happened in there, but I don't know. Not judging people that do it, but that's not an expectation that most husbands should have. And oh gosh, it gets better. It gets better, guys. Just wait for this one. And why I don't make him lunch like good wives do. I actually have no words. I have no words. Like, if you enjoy cooking and you're making it for the family or you're making it for yourself, and you want it to be a nice gesture. But again, it should not be an expectation, especially when you are taking care. You're literally in the middle of nursing your baby, feeding your baby, and he's asking you to make him lunch. Okay, I'm heated, guys. I'm heated. Okay. Oh, first of all, I'm already washing, folding, and hanging the clothes and making dinners. Secondly, you can't tell me to be a better wife when I'm not even your wife yet. Man, where's the ring? I like this girl. She's funny. And thirdly, what the hell kind of misogynistic kind of thinking is that? You're not wrong. You are not wrong. Again, if that's something like in your whole relationship, it was like decided, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. No judgment there. That's your thing. But for a boyfriend to come up while breastfeeding and saying, why don't you do this like all the good wives do out there, saying that in order to be a good wife, you have to make their lunch, you have to lay out their clothes for them. No, honey, no. That does not make a good wife. That's not the definition of a good wife. So whatever book you pulled that from, find a new one. Yeah, I'd be really like, I'm not going to here to give you advice, but I'd be like, we need to have a little sit down on our expectations of each other in this relationship right now. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about that. And bite my tongue for the rest. Or lip. Why do they say bite your tongue? You really bite your lip. I don't know. Anyways, all right. That was a good one. I'm mad reading that for you. I almost just said your name. Okay, number 11. Okay, I'm wondering if this woman's also pregnant. This is another pizza one. She just said, how long it's taking for my pizza to get here. Hey, when you're hangry, or when you're pregnant and hangry, I can see it. When you're in that moment where you just want that food, maybe it's taking a really long time. I get that. I sympathize with you. Hopefully you don't have to wait too much longer and it all showed up unscathed. All right, guys. That really made me riled up. Those were some good runs. And like I said in the beginning, if you are something you're mad or irritated about, I'm all for, I think venting is really powerful. Even if it's just like in a journal, you just need like, this made me mad today. It's good just to kind of get it out. Because I think a lot of times, like we talked about in the one, it was like, sometimes things can make us mad or cry for like no reason. And we'll be like, well, that was kind of ridiculous. But writing it out or feeling it out can help. But a lot of those reasons, I get why you're mad. I get it. So I'm with you on that. All right, guys, that's all I have for this week's Mom Tales. Again, we do these every week. And thanks for tuning into this episode of Mom Talks with Christa. I will see you guys next week. Hey guys, if you found this or any episode of Mom Talks with Christa helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. We release new videos every single Wednesday, and our new podcast is out every single Thursday. So lots of different ways you can catch us. And of course, if you're not following us on our socials, go ahead and follow us there. We've got tons of new content for you every single day. And finally, if you're watching this and doubting yourself, you're doing a great job. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.